Hello, gamers! Welcome to The Replay, where we replay and reply to questions about games from advice columnists of yore. And now, two married people who are not qualified to give advice can at least give better advice about games. That's me, Eric Silver, and the hostess with the mostess, Amanda McLoughlin.
Oh, thanks, honey. I did refill the ice bucket and make sure we had lots of lemons and limes cut for this mise en place.
Oh, thank you. You're just like a Cosmo girl and always have champagne in the back of the fridge.
And a champagne to fill the dial.
That's champagne in case guests come over. All right. Hello. This is the first time we're doing the replay officially on the main feed. We did an episode before because we were hard up and we just wanted to do something together. But this is wonderful. This is coming weekly. This is good. This is the first time two married people have ever made a podcast with each other.
You know what, Eric?
It's groundbreaking.
I think something transmogrified in like our lives in the world when we stood before a rabbi, 100 of our friends and family, and some cows off in the distance and pledged ourselves to be married. We're qualified to say whatever the fuck we want.
That's true. I just figured that we could at least come out and say, we don't know anything more than anyone else, but we're the ones with a microphone, and we're the one with a marriage license. We paid $35 to the state of New York.
And went to the Brooklyn courthouse.
We went down to a courthouse, and they approved it. And then our rabbi was like, good guy.
Ask us almost no questions about it.
No, he was like, all right.
It's like, neither you're married? Fine, all right.
Yeah, I have so many other people I have to deal with.
But we are more qualified than average to talk about games. And so often in advice columns, there are questions about video games, about sports, about bets, about stuff between friends that the columnist is like, I don't know about that. But
that sounds stupid and bad.
Exactly. Or the game is integral to the answer. And that's why I think this show is so good and why this advice is so interesting.
Yeah. Can we talk about like our three? I feel like I can break down three questions that we're refuting immediately. We've already done this for the last few months, actually like half a year.
Mm-hmm.
We've already done this on the Patreon, patreon.com/games and feelings. We've been doing this bi-weekly on there since the inception of Games and Feelings. It's a lot of fun. So we already have some like experience doing this. The first one is, my husband plays video games. Doesn't he suck? That's one. The second is, what are sports and why are they not bad? Because all they want is for someone to say, this person likes sports and they're bad, correct?
Yes.
The sports ball. And then the third thing is, usually there's a poker night and someone did something weird.
Yes. Someone used a game as an excuse to be rude. And does the fact that there are already predetermined rules about this game excuse the person from rudeness or excuse me for my rudeness?
It's always like, we had a poker night and then someone took all of the money, took a poop on the floor and called us all rude things. Should we invite them over again for game night?
Right.
Should we do this? Regardless of the time period too. Like some of these we've gone all the way back and done Ask Amanda, but that's not what it is. Anne Flanders. Well, who is that?
Ask Abby.
Ask Abby. Thank you. Dear Abby.
Dear Abby.
See, they all just fucking run together. Like, we're going all the way back from the 50s and 60s where people were like, oh, someone didn't bring a snack for poker night. And now, even now, in like 2022, someone's like, am I the asshole if I take all of the money from my drunk friends when we're playing poker?
Yeah, that
like,
was in the replay
questions
for December, right?
Yeah, same questions all the way through. So at least we can answer those questions, and we're just as bad as everything else. Like, we can just answer those immediately. One is, no, video games are a good hobby. Two, people like sports just as much as you like your hobbies. And three, stop stealing from your friends and stop using games as a reason to be rude to someone, usually about money. It's always economic strife.
Yeah, or status and embarrassment.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I was embarrassed in the situation. Am I right or wrong to be embarrassed? And the answer is almost always, don't use a game as an arena to be a jerk to your friends.
Yeah.
It is okay to feel embarrassed and probably, you know, you deserve to say something about it. And three, don't make bets over $25 with your friends.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And then we all put money in and we're going to get a hot tub together.
Pool table.
It's got to be great. So I'm glad we got those out of the way. But first, because this is on the Games and Feelings feed, I do want to make sure we have a segment of Game That Is Giving Us Feelings where we can talk about any game that is giving us feelings and assigning an adjective to it like we're a live journal post.
Yes.
So you can talk about any of the various games that we touch on Games and Feelings, and then we're going to start answering some advice questions that Amanda has prepared. Amanda, is there a game that is giving you feelings?
Yes, I am getting so many great, capable feelings. Amanda is feeling capable.
Okay.
While playing Potion Permit, a game that my sweet hubs recommended to me. Oh, can I call you sweet hubs on Maine? Is that okay?
That's fine. I guess,
all right, thank you. That this is marriage,
hubs
baby.
on Maine.
That my husband Eric had recommended to me, where you play a chemist who comes to a town where their mayor's daughter needs medical help, and chemists who have been to the town in the past did bad stuff and scared people, and so the whole village is really worried about you, and it is your job to learn to make potions, to gather resources, and to build trust with villagers as the game goes on, as you kind of unravel the mystery of what happened before you got there. And it is making me feel capable because the progression arc as you learn new skills and get better tools and get more resources and make more complex medicine feels really good. And it's just really well paced. It makes me feel happy. There's unlocking new parts of the map in a way that makes me, I never feel behind. I feel like I have the ability to decide what I want to do and invest in. And even if I, don't have the money to like expand my cauldron's capacity right now, I can go off into the field and get more flowers and bring it back. So it just feels like a really, really good mix where there is more for me to do, but I feel capable of doing it. And I know that even if I can't do it right now, it's going to be in my grasp in the future. And it's a really, really nice feeling.
Hell yeah. Would you say it's like Stardew-like?
Definitely like Stardew Valley, but I would say that it's a little more on rails. I think it's easy to feel a bit adrift and overwhelmed by Stardew because at the beginning, your abilities are really limited compared to what you need to do. And I think Potion Permit has made a lot of quality of life improvements. It's definitely directly inspired by Stardew in a lot of ways. And the quality of life improvements make it easier to feel like you know what you're supposed to do. I haven't had to look up a lot, and I did when I played Stardew.
Hell yeah. I want to give a special shout out to the MinMax podcast. We've had two people from there on, Janet Garcia and Jacob Geller, who's been on Games and Feelings, my favorite video game podcast out there. Recommended this during their end of the year, like best games that are interesting episode. I want to give a shout out to Google, who decided to surface this for me while I was looking up where people can find Potion Permit, where you can get it on PC, you can get it on Nintendo Switch, PS5, PS4, and Xbox One. It is currently $16.99 on Steam, which is very affordable. The questions that they surfaced for Google were as one, is Potion Permit worth it? And two, does Potion Permit have romance? Get right down to it. Give the people what they want.
Yes, it has romance. Yes, it is worth it.
Good. Two games that are giving me feelings are not games at all. They're games adjacent. One is Wonder, that someone sent us some games merch. We have no idea who this person is. They sent us a t-shirt that had Yugi's grandfather in the TV.
And it said Yugi.
Yugi for the first episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! On a t-shirt. Incredible. And they got you a hat with a little Junimos from Stardew Valley.
Yeah, my little guys that helped me harvest all my berries.
So whoever you are, I'm in wonder of you. Thank you for sending this to us. It's also from the Yeti, who is the company that makes like video game and games like merch and stuff, but they're really involved with Games Done Quick, which is why I know them. And Games Done Quick is the speed running festival that always raises money for an incredible cause. So I'm just like, oh yeah, Yeti, good. That's us.
Good people. I see them in the lower third all the time.
I love your lower third. You're incredible. And the second thing is that recently I've been reading Slaying the Dragon, A Secret History of Dungeons and Dragons by Ben Riggs, who used to write for Geek and Sundry. He said that a lot in the book. Okay, here's the thing. So this book's pretty good. You know I love narrative nonfiction, especially you've been getting me into company books.
Corporate
lately.
Disaster books, my favorite.
And this one isn't necessarily corporate disaster. I read one a little while ago that was about like the daily fantasy boom, where like, again, it's somewhere where it's been corporatized. I actually like this just as much as I like the corporate disaster, where it's like, you see where they are now, but there was a really rough history before. That's actually way more interesting than like the corporate sanitized version that exists. So I read that one before. And this is similar. Ben Riggs really likes inserting himself because he's a nerd. So he likes putting himself into the narrative, even though he's talking about stuff that happened in like the 70s and 80s, because this is about TSR mostly, which is the role-playing games company that Gary Gygax co-founded and that Wizard of the Coast bought in the 90s. Right, this is the company that had the lawsuit with the Tolkien estate that they couldn't say all the Tolkien words and publish that.
Like, oh, fine, we'll call them Ents.
Yeah, and like, listen, there were a ton of really shady business practices. Like nerds, I think more than anyone else, more than like business people, love using loopholes to fuck someone over out of money they're owed.
Yeah, Eric, we love rules.
So here's an interesting thing I learned. The reason why they leaned on advanced Dungeons & Dragons as opposed to Dungeons & Dragons. So all the way back, Dungeons & Dragons was like the basic box, and advanced Dungeons & Dragons had all the rest of the stuff in it, in the books, that you could own and read after you like did the basic version.
Oh,
right?
I didn't know that.
And the basic box, Dungeons and Dragons, and the company that made that, that's their bread and that's really the product that people knew. That was co-created by another guy, Dave Arneson. And the reason why they leaned on AD&D the most is that Gary Gygax said Advanced Dungeons & Dragons is totally different than Dungeons & Dragons. So this guy doesn't deserve any royalties. And then TSR, the company, ran with that because it made more financial sense.
There's a whole other word in front of the 3 identical words.
So it's different.
Oh,
there you
no.
go. The way that Ben Riggs described this was like a cheese pizza and a pepperoni pizza are totally different, which is wild. They also use this on DC Comics to like get around some IP garbage. Okay, basically TSR made IP and tried to give it and like license it to DC Comics. But then they're like, we should just do this for ourselves. But they already licensed the thing to DC Comics, so instead they made comic modules, which meant that it was the same thing as a comic book, but in the back they had a little bit of game stuff, like a really short one-pager, or some like stat blocks of how to turn a character or an item into something else, something you would play in Dungeons & Dragons. Like, no, this is a comic module. And obviously this was terrible and it pissed off DC Comics and it was a bad business decision. But again, it was getting around the contract in the same way as they did with D&D and AD&D. But that's another thing I wanted to talk about. Amanda, we've talked a lot on the replay about Nerf guns in the office.
Yes, we have.
And how fucking annoying it is and how terrible it is to people who work there to use Nerf guns. But this isn't just a startup thing. This is a whole... Can I read you a section from here?
Oh my God, I wish you would.
Yeah. Also, Ben Riggs keeps putting himself in the book. Also, it's the thing that bothers me the most about it is like, it's like, oh, I talked to all these people. Can you believe it? This one woman like wouldn't talk to him. So he kept saying, I wish I had her side of the story, but I don't. So this is all I have. And like, Ben Riggs, please stop. Get out of the way. Let me read you a section about Nerf guns here. And this is in the late 70s. Okay.
Oh my God.
Then there was the time the police showed up looking for a sniper. Zeb Cook described the TSR offices as a sort of toy militia, where we, quote, had all the Nerf guns. In the late 70s.
Wow.
Given the high ratio of Nerf weaponry to staff, Nerf incidents late in the day, especially towards the end of the week, were all too common. Anyone at almost any time could be taken down by a yellow styrofoam projectile of one stripe or another. Running shootouts moving from office to office, floor to floor, were common. During one such shootout, an employee who was wielding a realistic-looking rifle was hiding behind a door, preparing to fire on a fellow worker. This rifle-wielding employee, who was waiting to unload styrofoam hell, was somehow also visible from the street. This prompted a local to call the Lake Geneva Police Department. TSR was based in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, tiny town in the middle of Wisconsin.
Good Lord.
This prompted a local to call the Lake Geneva Police Department, who arrived to investigate. The response of the police, once the situation was explained to them, was, those guys again, according to Zeb Cook.
When the cops go, those guys again, you know that you're not behaving well.
Those lads. In consequence, management wrote a memo requiring all staff to take their Nerf armaments home and leave them there. Cook said that the staff's response was to start hiding their Nerf weaponry in drawers. This section was to demonstrate like the chaos and fun of the burgeoning TSR company, but don't worry, this bullshit happens even outside of the millennial, even outside of the startup boom and the dot-com bubble.
Wow, yeah, I thought tech bros invented this in the early 2010s. Not true.
No, not true.
Also, Lonnie Johnson, U.S. Air Force veteran, NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory veteran, and inventor of the Super Soaker and Nerf gun. Wants better for us.
Wait, he's the same guy who invented the Super Soaker too?
Yes.
God, what a
legend. He made a Super Soaker, Eric, and then said, what if there was a projectile in this? And made the Nerf gun.
What if it was gun?
Yeah.
What if it was gun?
Yeah.
So Lonnie Johnson is responsible for all not guns?
Yes, because he was studying in the Jet Propulsion Lab, studying propulsion at NASA. Are you
saying he was studying the lab late one night?
Yes, and then he said, what will be a fright if my children in Atlanta with his spouse of 40 years and his 4 children, where he still lives, would be able to have some, wholesome fun.
Uh-huh. Thanks, Lonnie.
So wait, Eric, what is the feeling you're getting from reading this book?
Oh, the feeling I'm getting from reading this is... What's the feeling, maybe there's a German word to describe this, but the feeling that the thing that's currently happened to you has actually happened 10 times before, and it's not new even when people think it's new.
Like deja vu reverberating through the past.
Just like the past continuing, or like when people say the past doesn't repeat itself, but it sure rhymes. It's kind of like that.
I haven't read that before.
Yeah.
Eric, I'm so glad that you have laid out for us the 3 types of advice questions we're likely to see, because the questions I've selected for you today, nay, that I've selected for the entire Games and Feelings audience to start their year with, really gets to the question of, what are games? What is fun? Why do we play them? What is work?
Oh, good. I'm glad that we've moved past the 3 people you meet in gaming hell and just philosophizing with Dante down in the depths here.
Well, this one involves both a bad boss and philosophy, so I thought you would enjoy it.
Oh, please. Okay.
This is, of course, from our favorite advice column, Ask a Manager, back from 2018, where there was no Zoom etiquette questions on that site, and just ones about weird happenings at company meetings.
For the main feed people, Ask a Manager is business advice questions, right? Or like job ones?
Yes, related to finding jobs, keeping jobs, being a manager, being managed, and quitting jobs. And the writer of that column, Allison Green, has had her column syndicated at Inc., at New York Magazine, at all kinds of different spots. She is truly the best in the biz, and something she does as well is if a letter does not have enough detail when it comes in, she'll reply and ask questions.
Oh, the best. I love that.
So she's really the only advice columnist where we read her answer and we go, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. And she has great advice for everybody. I learned a lot of really, really good stuff from her column.
I think the question is for like workers too.
Yes.
Is like you ask a manager because you can ask Allison Green, and you can't ask your manager because it's fraught with worker issues.
Yes, she is the platonic ideal of a manager who's actually there to make sure you have a good time at work and will adjudicate. Like truly, you can ask her the question like, am I wrong here or is everyone wrong? And she will tell you. And her advice is great. She consults experts. She'll ask people about like labor rights and OSHA violations and all kinds of stuff. She's awesome.
Hell yeah. All right. I don't even know what to expect. Yeah, hit me.
Well, Eric, the headline will tell it all. This is, our CEO challenged someone to eat dead bugs.
How is this a game? What?
Well, Eric, it's a challenge.
Oh, it's a challenge.
It's
a
challenge
contest.
Is a game. And that is the meta that I want to get into in our discussion.
No, a contest is a game. That counts. I should include that in the Games and Feelings crawl or in the trailer. It's like pie eating contest. How high can people jump? Well,
today you'll sense a theme that I thought for the first time to search for the words contest and challenge in these advice columns. And I got stuff that I gotta say, pretty good.
Okay, here we go. Tell me.
All right. The letter writer goes, I work for a medium-sized company that's had some morale difficulties recently for reasons that are too long to get into.
What the fuck? Again, my favorite thing about people who write in advice, the things they choose to include and the things they choose not to include.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, okay.
As a result, the higher level executives have been making more of an effort to be a, quote, fun place to work.
No, pay people more.
Yep.
Just pay people more. That's it.
Most of these efforts are pretty normal, such as a company outing to a sports game. Recently, we had an all-hands meeting that was broadcast to all our offices, where our CEO made it clear that they were trying to reformat our normal meetings to be more enjoyable and less formal.
Okay, I seriously want to ask you this question, business lady, numbers person Amanda.
Me.
I know this doesn't make sense in dollars to dollars, but let's say you gave everyone a 5% raise. Do you think that would be more cost effective than the amount of time and effort that goes into making things fun at the office? Like, could you make the case that it made more business sense in terms of work hours of doing this bullshit than just giving everyone a 5% raise?
Definitely. Also, like all hands meetings and company retreats and stuff out, like an offsite, all those cost money. It could just be, a catering bill or an AV bill. Like you pay for the person who comes in to like live stream this meeting to all your corporate locations. But also you're losing thousands of hours of labor as people have to go sit in this bullshit meeting for hours. So
right. I know
not
the cost.
Even the raise, but like there is a cost, and investing that cost in, I don't know, money to employees would be 1,000 times better for morale.
Listen, I understand, though, that, like, if you were a stupid CFO or CEO, you'd be like, well, it's way less money. It's a fourth as much money to spend money on catering and hotels and company retreats and lunch once every month than it is to give everyone a 5% raise. Like, that's the dummy math. That's what I'm saying.
I think what they're not counting, though, is the opportunity cost of people
Right.
are not working for 3 hours everywhere and probably if you know that this bullshit's happening, you'll call out or you'll like schedule a light day or like have to gather stuff done during the week. Like that's also a cost that they're not counting. I will say that when my job was like keeping a department of 300 people happy, the best money I ever spent was the roughly $400 I would spend on a bagel lunch once a month.
Food is real. That I shouldn't have included that one.
No. That is the extent of it. And that's because people liked it and they asked for it and I did it. And nobody's asking for this. I think truly, Eric, it's sort of like you're saying, the CEO or CFO wants to be able to like tell his buddies at his like daughter's ballet recital or like at the golf course that, oh, you'll never guess what I got the employees up to at the job.
I made them eat bugs, apparently.
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to ask that question before we moved on.
It also is the apex of like, should have been an email or like, does it need to be a meeting? Like if your meeting has to be fun and it's just a meeting, it shouldn't be a meeting. Like,
right.
There's so many traditions in companies, I think particularly a medium-sized company like the letter writer described, where there's just traditions and we do them because we do them and nobody's asking why.
I did want to touch on this too, because I assume we're going to do more Ask a Manager, obviously on the main feed, but
Yes.
also in Patreon. When they say medium-sized company, this has multiple offices at different places that they need to be video called in.
Yes.
Like, this just means it's not like PepsiCo, right? When someone says medium?
No, and I bet there are like corporate definitions or like national definitions for this, but I would guess this is, under 2,000 employees.
Yeah. This is like when they talk about craft beer. Like craft
Yes.
beer is anywhere from like someone that has a brewery to like Sam Adams is a craft beer.
Exactly.
Okay.
So back to the letter. Midway through the meeting, the CEO asked someone in his conference room if they would be interested in challenging him to a game for a prize.
Oh, no.
Now, Eric, what would your reaction be? I just want to say, you're in this room. You're in.
Oh, no. Is it worse? Counter question. Is it worse being in the room or being on Zoom and watching this telephonically before the Zoom revolution where everyone kind of sort of got it?
So the letter writer's use of the word broadcast makes me think that they couldn't see back.
Oh, okay.
Like, I think they gathered the employees at like the, Akron, Ohio field office to watch the main feed from Boston.
Oh,
and
sure.
It's like in a little auditorium or in a conference room, but they can't see back.
Okay, I assume that there was a Zoom, right? Because this is pre-2020, that there wasn't a camera back. Okay.
No, I think in 2023, I'd rather be in the room because being on Zoom and needing to like not immediately go off video would be
just be like, what's happening?
My eyes are twice the size they normally are right now. Like I am like currently experiencing palpitation thinking about that.
If I was in the room and this happened, I'd go, oh no. There are moments in your life where you know your life is about to change.
Yeah.
Or when a story is happening to you.
Yes.
And there's nothing you can do about it other than just buckle up and hold on to the ride. This is like when on the roller coaster where you make sure the safety bar is set, right?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
No, I call that making a memory. And sometimes it's nice, and sometimes, Eric, is not.
It's a memory. Not going to say if it's good or not. Oh, my God. Okay, yeah, continue.
Someone agreed and stepped up to the front of the room.
Oh, because this person doesn't have any self-awareness. Oh, no.
Where the game was revealed to be a contest to see who could eat a handful of dead crickets the fastest.
Okay, dead crickets. I assume if they're dead, it wasn't like from a specialty food store that made crickets. You know?
This is an important question that Allison Green also asks.
Okay, great, wonderful.
Like, are these culinary crickets? Are these like chocolate covered? Because like that's a thing that people eat. That's fine.
Right.
Or is this like somebody got them to feed their bird or whatever,
Right,
and like
yeah,
they're like the leftovers?
Yeah.
I certainly hope not.
Oh God.
So the CEO did check that the contestant was still okay with this. The contestant agreed, and they both went at it.
Oh yeah, because consent at the workplace is totally good. And
There's
right.
no fraud power dynamics there whatsoever.
Nothing weird's
No.
happening. We're just bros hanging out.
Yeah,
we're just
Eric,
bros eating crickets.
We're family, and nothing happens like that in families either. I'm sorry, you're
We're
drinking
just
water.
family eating crickets, bro. We're just fam.
Which again, that's fine. If everyone says crickets for dinner, and everyone's like, yeah.
If it's Christmas or Easter and you all agree on crickets. Oh my God.
Oh,
yeah,
boy.
okay, continue.
The contestant won a box of chocolate for eating them the fastest, and then the meeting continued. So again, Jimothy is sitting there at the conference table, belly full of crickets, box of chocolates just in front of him on top of his notebook, ? It's 2018. No one knows what's
near
happening.
his old chunky laptop.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Okay, continue. I can't keep riffing on the question.
No. Here's the final paragraph. My question is this as weird and terrible an idea as I think it probably is? Most everyone in the office seems to have been weirded out by the display, and they probably won't do it again if our survey feedback is negative enough.
Oh no.
That said, it still already happened, and the person who competed was already put on the spot before it was revealed to be bugs. Granted, I was not the bug eater. I don't know this person even casually, so he might not have minded at all. Is this as strange as I think it is?
Oh, man. Hey, I don't know Jimothy. Maybe Jimothy loves eating bugs.
Maybe Jimothy loves eating crickets.
Okay, so did Allison Green follow up with letter writer about whether or not this was culinary crickets?
No, but she wondered that in her answer, and a lot of people wondered it in the comments as well. Her feedback was mostly like, this is weird. I don't think this is a good idea. Very
Yes, for
curious
sure.
about Jimothy and what his deal was. She said, wondering about him because his willingness to plunge ahead and eat dead bugs is crossed out disturbing, crossed out interesting, remarkable. And was just basically like, I think most people she thinks would feel comfortable opting out when explicitly given the option. That said, there are people who might see it as a way of scoring points with the CEO and decide to do it even if they don't want to, and the CEO should know that.
Yeah, it felt like this person had to continue because they thought it would be good to do at a full office thing to step up to the challenge because the CEO said so. I 100% agree with this.
And a bunch of people in the comments are like, I eat chocolate-covered crickets, like I eat cricket protein powder, like all of that is normal. Are these dead bugs or are these
That's
culinary
what it made me seem
crickets?
like they were dead bugs then when they said dead crickets.
Yeah, dead crickets.
I feel like regardless of whether or not they were culinary crickets, the CEO did not frame it as such because it was like, eat a bug.
Yes.
So that was
Which is also
issue.
like weird and exoticizing of a food that lots of people eat. Like,
right, that's what I'm trying to get at is like, this wouldn't have been a challenge unless the CEO said, this sucks.
Yes.
Do you want to do it, Jimothy?
Yes.
Oh, man. God, this is wild. Was there any follow-up? Nothing? We just need to live in the mystery of what happened here?
We do.
Oh, God.
Nothing else.
God, obviously, this sucks.
But my challenge and question for you, Eric, is what version of this is cool? You have participated in dumpling eating contests. You were told beforehand that they were vegetarian dumplings. They were boiled, like all the things you'll have to know.
Yeah.
I think this would be really fun and normal to be like, hey, folks, I got back from Mexico. I brought home some crickets. I think they're delicious. Like, make an appetizer for your friends. See who can eat them the fastest. Like, all of this is normal, but doing it with a power differential like you identified, I think is really the key part here and as a surprise.
Oh, yes.
And in a meeting.
Yes, it's the fact that it's
And
at
at
work.
work.
It's at work. I didn't dumpling eating at work. I really liked doing the dumpling eating contest. I did it twice. It was really fun. I did it with my friends. I talked about this, I think, at the office that I was at, the terrible job that I worked at Brandon before Multitude.
That we liberated you from.
That we liberated us from. And, like, I felt really weird talking about it. It was really the first office that I had been in, and I realized the judgment that I felt from like work, the office in general, and other people being able to like put their lowercase c conservative views on you, that if you do anything weird, you're that guy. And I didn't know that at the time. So even saying that I did a food eating contest made me feel weird at the time. But also, if someone at my office came in and brought in culinary crickets, chocolate covered crickets, I would also feel odd because, again, you're in a panopticon. The office truly is a panopticon. Not necessarily in like the Big Brother 1984 way, but that someone will look at you and use that as a reason to
judge you.
To judge you and then turn that into, and I don't even want to say negative job performance, but that it will affect job performance at all.
Yeah, listen, I'm showing my age here as like a real kind of mid to young millennial to say like, you should give people as little ammunition as fucking possible at work because they will turn it against you to feed into their headcanon, their justification, whatever they have. And that sucks. And like one of the reasons I also left a corporate environment is because I didn't feel comfortable like cutting my hair, having tattoos, coming out, like talking about my social life, my weird creative projects. Like, I mentioned the word podcast one time and everyone's like, can you help me get tickets to Hamilton? Like it was really odd. The lines people draw.
Yeah. I mean, truly, Brendan and I were put in the farthest possible place they could be in the office because people didn't like us.
Under
so like that
the
shit
AC
happens
vent.
real.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the tech team that we didn't even work with them.
Yeah.
The tech consultants.
Yeah.
Real.
They were contractors. They weren't even employees. And they're like, yeah, Eric and Brandon should sit over there.
Yeah. So this is like kind of like a real toxic masculinity hurts everyone situation.
Yes.
But it's like when these things happen, even if it's positive, it's actually just going to be judgment based. For example, let's talk about Jimothy here. Jimothy is let's say Jimothy's a bro, which he probably is. If I know that we don't know anything about this person because letter writer didn't know them at all. But Let's say Jimothy is a bro and he wanted to score points with the CEO. He's one of the people who are willing to step up if someone offers a challenge at an office.
Yes.
They don't care if a lot of people are watching. They decided to eat bugs. I don't know. Did they use he, him pronouns for him in the letter?
Yes.
Okay,
Jimothy uses he, him pronouns. And Allison Green, too, at the very end is like, her answer is like, is this very bro-y culture? Like, are they trying to be fun by being very bro-y? Like, this isn't really an adult business environment.
Right.
In her
so
estimation.
let's assume that's it. And let's say that the CEO put positive points on Jimothy. This reinforces bro culture.
Yes.
And if Jimothy doesn't want to do these things, it will then be negative because of the vision of himself he's put in CEO's mind. If you change that, that will make CEO mad because CEO has obviously very little what do you call it when babies don't know when objects go away?
Object permanence.
Object permanence.
Yep.
Like they don't have CEOs have so little personality permanence.
Yes.
That it's like the one thing you saw them do, you think they are.
Yes.
And then if you break that, then they'll be disappointed and upset and then will cost you projects or promotions or whatever.
Exactly. There are so many questions on Ask a Manager and other advice columns about like, hey, my office has a huge drinking culture. My office, goes to like events that I can't or don't want to do. Like that, the reason why it's insidious and not just, oh, my coworkers are doing something I don't find fun is because that is weighing on how people get paid and promoted or maybe fired or assigned projects. And work claims to be a meritocracy. It almost never is. And so you really, truly have to conspire and work actively to give people no reasons to judge you badly because otherwise they will reward people who seem like them or seem like a good time, however they define that.
Oh, man. The promotion thing of just promoting someone who was you 10 to 15 years ago is the absolute fucking worst, man. Like, that's how you can call who's going to get promoted next is who is the most like the manager doing the promoting.
It's true. And I've been on both sides of this too. Like when I worked in finance in 2012 when there was like a bit of an economic downturn and
just a smidge,
just
a touch.
It was like post-recession, bump in the road, but we had to cut some headcount and reduce some of the seats in our department. And I knew who was expecting a kid. Like I knew who was about to get married. I knew who had student loans, because I knew these people really well. And so it is really hard because we're human beings not to have those things factor in. And so you need pretend that your personality and hobbies are your personal data on a pop-up website and guard that shit as hard as you can.
Yeah. I was thinking about another Ask a Manager question where there was a sports tournament and that they were allowed to compete in the sports tournament, and there was free food and drink, and it was a paid day of work.
Yes.
But the only people who got picked for it were people who were good at the sport because it was competitive and it looked good for the office. And it's like, on the basis level, you have to go to work while another person gets to like vibe out and play ultimate frisbee for a day. Like, that's even as simple as what we're talking about here.
Exactly.
And that's the thing that really annoys me.
But that's why I thought it was such an interesting intersection of, a competition, social dynamics, the surprising presence of crickets, and work.
Yeah. Amanda, would you eat the cricket?
I think I would rebuke the CEO and
Really?
then eat a cricket on the way out.
Damn.
Yeah.
Wow.
In my fantasy version of myself. I think in reality I go, no,
I'd
and
go
then
be
not
like-
do it. I'd be like, I'm vegetarian, and then not do it.
I feel like I would say, you didn't tell me this was going to be crickets. This is not fun. I thought you were going to make me juggle or something.
Right.
Yeah. Like, if you say, here's a much more reasonable thing than this could have been, and then you sit down, that's enough of a power play without getting into too much trouble. Hey, it's Eric, and I picked up some snacks for Games and Feelings. I got Nashville hot crickets for everyone. Get it? Because we're talking about bugs during this one. Amanda's here in the studio with me, so she's going to say hi.
Hello.
Did you like what I said about bugs?
Very nice.
Okay, thank you. See, we're doing it. It's a replay. The replay is real, both on Patreon and in the main feed. And I think you should be a part of the Patreon at patreon.com/gamesandfeelings. This was our first cycle of going weekly, and it's been so much fun. We've seen the show grow a lot. Continue to share the show with your friends, but I'm not doing a plug for that. I'm doing a plug for the Patreon. And we want your support to keep this all going. Here is our next goal. If I get to 100 patrons, I will go to the United Kingdom, bother Jasper at his house, and film it for you. I'm going to post that video on the Patreon. I'll do a whole vlog about being in the UK and playing games with Jasper and talking about Pokemon and looking at his house. It's going to be great. And a shout out to producer-level patrons Polly Burridge, Kelsey Duffy, and Megan Moon, who sees sales on Steam and lets you know that the game you wanted is on like 70% off, and you gotta buy it now. Again, patreon.com/gamesandfeelings. If you want more of the replay, just join the Patreon and enjoy it. You should also check out the other shows that are part of the Multitude Collective. I think you'd like Spirits. Amanda, I'm talking about your show.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Thank you.
Wow. Amanda, did you know that Spirits is a history and comedy podcast focused on everything folklore, mythology, and the occult, told through the lens of feminism, queerness, and modern adulthood?
No way.
Yeah. Every week, mythology puff Julia talks to you, Amanda, and they talk about a different story from mythology and folklore over drinks.
Wow.
Wow. There are over 300 plus episodes to start with, different types of episodes all throughout. You have like the explainer episodes, the movie episodes, the interviews with interesting people, and a lot of authors, and like romance authors, because Amanda's getting romance authors on there. They talk about their like mythology stuff.
Yeah.
You like that?
Yeah.
It's good. And also there's the games that I've done and the urban legends episodes where people talk about their ghost stories. They're incredible. There are over 300 episodes from over 6 years. You got to check it out. Dive into spiritspodcast.com or search for Spirits wherever you download your podcasts.
Thanks, honey.
No problem. We're sponsored today by Shaker and Spoon, a subscription cocktail service that helps you learn how to make handcrafted cocktails right at home. Every box comes with enough ingredients to make 3 different cocktail recipes developed by world-class mixologists. All you got to do is buy 1 bottle of that month's spirit, and then you have everything you need to make 12 drinks at home. And at just $40 to $50 per box, plus the cost of the liquor, that is an incredibly effective way to make craft cocktails at home. And you can subscribe that you can cancel or skip at any time. Invite some friends over, class up your nightcaps, or be the best house guest of all time with your Shaker and Spoon box. Get $20 off your first box at shakerandspoon.com/gamesandfeelings. If you go to that link, we get money from you going there, and they'll know that we sent you there, and they're going to like us even more. So check it out. $20 off shakerandspoon.com/gamesandfeelings. And now, back to the games.
All right, Eric. My second question for us today,
Oh my God.
I'm also very excited about. It's also about what is a competition and what is fairness and what is just and what's sportsmanship.
Sure.
So this is from the Am I the Asshole subreddit.
Classic. For those who don't know what this is.
Yes, this is a subreddit, so a community on the website Reddit, which has people submit questions where the community votes and decides if the person submitting was the jerk in the situation or not. And there is a bot on the subreddit so that everybody who comments votes. Yeah. And so this is not I'll tell you what the community decided writ large, but I wouldn't put a ton of stock into that. And so the options are either the person writing in, you're the asshole, you're not the asshole, everyone sucks here, there's not any assholes here, it was just a sucky situation, or we don't have enough information.
I also like these specifically because the title is such a twist.
Yes.
Well, the thing is, it's always wrong, right?
Yes.
It's always a clickbaity title that doesn't actually capture what the thing is. So I'm very excited to hear what the title is.
In some way, this is the purest and most information-rich advice column we have because it is a dialogue. There are almost always edits to the original question where people come back and add more information based on what people are asking in follow-up, or they'll engage in dialogue in the comments.
The OP is always in the comments.
Yes, and they title their own letters. So this is not an editor choosing the title for them, but people are saying, this is what I think the crux of the issue is, and then we'll decide if they got it right.
Yeah.
Okay, so this one from early 2022. Am I the asshole for purposely missing a penalty shot in a football/soccer match?
Oh, man, this could be about anything. I feel like it's going to be the goalie or the other team had cancer and I wanted something good for him or some shit. Because again, it always starts innocuous and then it gets really deep really fast.
This is fun. This is a team in Europe who's writing in. So no one has cancer here. Don't worry.
Okay.
All right. This is the question. We had a soccer match against some of our top rivals yesterday.
Gotta protect yourself when you're on Reddit. Gotta protect yourself.
And it didn't end well. Our schools don't like each other, and we've had a lot of bad history between football matches and other sports.
God, this feels like a Disney Channel original movie that's gearing up here. Okay.
Don't worry. We'll get a lot more color into the relationship between these schools. Okay. The game was tied 1-1, and in the last few minutes of the game, I was at the other end of the field, near the goalkeeper, about to take a shot, when another player came toward me, and I tripped. My shoelaces got wrapped up and tangled around each other. Not sure how it happened. From some angles, it looked like the other player tackled me badly. The referee gave him a yellow card and awarded me a penalty shot. I told the referee, the guy didn't even touch me. I tripped. The other players were all screaming at the referee, and he gave 2 of their players yellow cards too and sent another one off the field. This referee has a history of being really biased against this school, so I'm not surprised. His girlfriend's younger sister goes to my school.
Oh, there we go. Yep.
When I was awarded the kick, I purposely kicked it out of bounds. My team was pissed at me. They were calling me a jackass who cost them the game, and it ended as a tie. I explained to them this was the most sportsmanlike thing I could do, that we didn't deserve the penalty kick as the guy didn't foul me. One of my coaches said I was right to do this. The other said I wasn't. Most of my team is pissed at me. I got screamed at by some of the parents. My parents said this was stupid of me and I shouldn't have done it, as it's putting my chances of getting a football scholarship in jeopardy. I think otherwise it displays good character. What do you guys think?
Ooh, there's a lot going on here.
Yes, and there's one edit, which is that Op said, I forgot to mention the stakes of this game are pretty high as the championships will be soon, and this may have jeopardized us getting into them. So take with that what you will. Eric, I'm genuinely really interested in what you think the right thing to do here is.
Ooh, God, this is tough. Yeah, I mean, I would say I'm surprised that more teammates did not have OP's back, because it feels like fuck the refs, first of all. The ref should not have anything to do with the game. If he's biased, that's an issue, right? Regardless of rivalry, if the ref isn't calling the game, it's not right. And even, let's talk about this, let's get down to brass tacks. Don't you want to win on your own merits so that no one from the other school gets to say, well, the ref is on your side because his sister goes to your school?
Yeah.
That invalidates all of the games that you played.
Or you're only in the championship because of that one, biased call that qualified you.
Right. And this is a thing that you can't shake, right? This happens in the NBA. This actually is a big problem in the NBA right now.
Oh, really?
Because a little while ago, one of the refs got caught gambling on his own games.
No!
And it's a big scandal, and basically the NBA has swept it under the rug. But like, the refs have a lot of issues and are inconsistent, and we don't know how tied any of them still are to the guy who is kicked out for gambling, right? So now, like, everything is called into question, and like, can you just deal with it? Can you not deal with it? If you track certain things, it's like they get mandates from the NBA or for their own reasons. Like, all of a sudden, they're calling a ton more travels now than they did because the refs are told that they're going to crack down on it. Does one ref feel like he's doing something more? Like, there are refs you don't want because they don't like certain teams, or they're encouraged by the NBA to only like help out teams that are good for the game, like the LA Lakers or the Boston Celtics or the Knicks. How like big teams and big superstars, like whatever team LeBron's on, gets preferential treatment. Like, it's a whole problem. Also, this was another problem with the NFL when the refs went on strike, and then they got a bunch of replacement refs who were garbage at the game.
No.
So like, the
stats counted and stuff. Like their calls stood.
Oh, yeah, because the games went on.
Wow.
Right? So it's like any of the games that had replacement refs in it were bad, including there is one particular play called the Fail Mary, which is where a Hail Mary was thrown to the last second, and the team that caught it, quote unquote, the offense, supposedly got it, but it definitely wasn't. The defense, like two players from opposite teams, like caught the ball at the same time, and it really was ambiguous. But like the reviewing rules are complicated, blah blah blah. But that was also with the replacement refs. So it's like, all these games are called into question because the referees are garbage.
Wow.
And I don't know why anyone would want that. Especially in a rivalry. If people are going to be talking about this rivalry forever, I assume, why you would want at all any sort of ambiguity with the refs overshadowing all this stuff. The second thing about how your parents say this jeopardizes your own scholarship. What have we learned from sports movies? That if you have fucking integrity, a coach is going to give you a scholarship and reward you?
Do you know my first thought reading this letter was like, tasty, a college personal statement that you could die for.
Exactly. I know they probably don't have that in Europe because they don't have all the bullshit here.
You do.
But that's something, especially someone's going to ask you, like, hey, when was the time you dealt with adversity on the field?
Yeah.
100%. And then they can check the tape.
Exactly.
They can check your high school, especially if this is European soccer in high school or youth sports or youth soccer. They're going to be able to check the data.
Especially if you're in a league or a competitive like zone where you are competing for a scholarship. You know, I'm sure people are like writing about this, or there's school memory, or like the school newspaper will cover it. Like this, I thought the community agreed that this person was not the asshole, which is always great to see. And I totally agree. I think the parent should be like, proud of your kid, made a good decision, upheld. It's not like they lost because of this. Like, for my mind, that wouldn't matter.
Sure.
But it also ended in a tie. Like, that's fine.
Yeah, no, I think he made the right decision. And, I imagine that there's going to be a box score somewhere that says like, oh, OP had this penalty kick and missed it. Like, that's probably written down somewhere. And then you can verify it. Like, you're not just telling this story out of school that people aren't going to believe necessarily. I think this was a really smart idea for various reasons.
Here is one final sub-question for you. Some of the folks in the comments were debating, as you do on Reddit,
how smart they are and how cool they were,
yes,
and how many girls they slept with.
Exactly,
yeah.
Right? The question of whether the question asker should have informed their team or talked to their captain before doing this.
Well, yes, I was kind of getting that in the beginning. Is like, I'm surprised that more people didn't see this and understand this before the penalty happened. In soccer, they're faffing around. It takes like so long, even while the clock is running,
to
get everything go.
Yeah.
So you could have at least talked to each other and told them that this was happening. I assume that this had, unless they were mad and didn't know the situation. That I kind of understand. They should have talked to somebody about it. Yes. Not to say that the captain would have adjudicated whether it was right or wrong, but more people on the team should have known about it. I'm surprised that they didn't.
Yes. And so the only people who said that, like, one of them called it a soft, you're the asshole. One of them said, I'm on the fence. But the one thing I do think is you should have said something, even if you walk over and say, lads, bruvs,
I assume so.
This is what I'm doing.
Happened. Yeah.
I don't think that's what happened, because he said, when I was awarded the kick, I purposely kicked it out of bounds. And my team was pissed at me, calling me a jackass, etc. I lost friends over this. So I think that people don't like being surprised.
People don't like being surprised, yes.
And so just walking over and saying, lads, this is what I'm doing. I think it's the right thing to do. Let's move on. Like that would have helped. Bruvs, cheeky Nandos, etc. You don't have to let them vote. And you don't have to let them make the choice. But even just saying, this is what I'm going to do, goes a long way to placating those feelings. Again, this kid's probably 15. Like, I don't expect them to know how to do that. But that was my one kind of piece of feedback. I think this is a classy-ass thing to do.
That's a wild thing that it took me a really long time to figure out, that people just want to know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
People make emotional reactions, especially negative reactions, the most when they're just surprised.
Yeah.
Like, think about family stuff or like the most like scandalous events in popular culture history. I'm thinking about like at the Super Bowl where Justin Timberlake revealed Janet Jackson's boob. It's like, it's just more about surprise than anything else, or like something going wrong that was something unexpected causes the most emotional reaction. And if you just tell people ahead of time and let them get mad first and then go ahead and do the thing anyway.
Exactly.
It goes a long way to get you getting what you want. It's kind of the opposite of it's easier to ask for forgiveness than to ask for permission. It's kind of like a combination of the two where it's like, don't ask for permission, but let them know that it's happening so that they can, not that they'll stop you, but actually if they try to stop you and they're in an emotional state, they'll probably fuck up and do something ridiculous, and then all the blame will be on them. But like, then they'll get all their surprise out of the way and maybe we'll come around to the thing that you want quicker.
It's a sign of like respect and acknowledgement and saying, I know you might not agree with me, but this is my plan. And I think that too, something that we both experienced, Eric, is like coming home from a vacation, unlocking your apartment and something's wrong.
Oh yeah.
And that's the worst. And one time when I was on vacation with my family, when I was very young, someone called and said, the cesspool in your front yard has opened and a tree fell in it. So when we got home.
Hold on, wait a second. What?
You know how there's septic tanks? Septic tank is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, cesspool.
So there was one in our yard from the previous homeowners from like the 40s.
Sure.
And we had like a tree plant, like a small tree planted in the middle of our front yard. And one of our neighbors called and was like, just so you know, the septic tank collapsed and your tree fell in it.
Oh, I was like, I was so confused.
No, I said the wrong thing.
It was open and then someone threw a tree into it. I was like, how did those two things happen?
The tree planted on top of it fell into it.
They collapsed. Yeah.
And so when we got home, we're like, sure, it's a big hole in the yard, but we didn't come home and get surprised by the hole. We came home and we're like, yep, we know about this. And my dad was able to like, call whoever and like, there was like, kids, there's going to be a big hole in the front yard when we get home. And that was infinitely better than getting home and being surprised, because you get to go through the experience mentally of being like, oh, what now? And then when you go home, you go, sure is.
That sure is a hole in our front yard.
Instead of seeing your teammate, kick it out of balance and then going, what? And then you sort of have to work through the like disbelief and then the anger and then, go to the rest.
Right. Man, I'm so not ready for parents being that into youth sports and screaming.
I know, right?
I get it that like you're into your kid and the stuff your kid does, and maybe they go to the same school that you do or they're following your tradition, so you're doubly invested. But like at some point you're yelling at a child.
Yeah. One of the very first questions we answered on the replay before we realized that we're unequipped to answer parenting questions was about parents showing very poor sportsmanship at a child's high school basketball game. And that question fucking sticks with me, Eric.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Think about it all the time.
Yeah, you'd be a great sports dad.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Babe, I just want them to all have fun. It's like that sweatshirt you got me early in our relationship. I just wanted both teams to have fun.
Unfortunately, that's not how it works, Amanda.
But I want it.
Sports are not the cozy video games that you play.
Why can't it be about collecting resources?
It is about collecting resources, but one of the resources is a W.
Oh, all right. Well, you put it that way. I understand a little better.
And unfortunately, there's limited W's.
This is why I really liked the show. Was it called Winning Time? Is that right?
Yeah, Winning Time.
Yeah, because it was mostly about the financials of running a franchise, and that I found very interesting.
It was mostly about watching John C. Reilly just fucking cook, man.
I know, and pointing at those men and being like, that man looks like that man!
I know.
It's amazing.
They should just have a split screen going.
They really should.
At any time, we're just like in the background, just a real photo of the guy.
You were watching a real video about one of the men in there.
Who made
and
the
I was
Lakers.
like, that man looks like that man! fun.
Yeah.
It was amazing. The guy who played Magic really looks like Magic. Yeah.
He did, and he was like a new. They really did cast him because he looked like Magic Johnson, and he was a new actor. He had never really acted in anything before, and they cast him.
But
he
listen,
crushed it. He did a really good job.
He's working. Like me, I don't know if that's like his one mode, but it's a convincing mode. Like I get that guy's Magic Johnson. Like he sells it to me. Like I believe it.
It's like, all right, we need a guy who is 6'6" and smiley and looks like Magic Johnson.
Yeah. It looks
and he can act.
Right.
Pretty good.
All of them learned to play basketball.
Pretty good.
Amazing.
Shout out to Winning Time for doing what Gossip Girl couldn't, which is casting to look like certain things, but also they're good actors.
Do you think we're the only household, Eric, that watched both Winning Time and Gossip Girl religiously?
I'm sure there was 10 tops in the Nielsen ratings that we have one of the boxes is one of 10.
We are an
families.
asterisk on somebody's report where they're like, do we have this right?
Sure.
Jerpathy, can you look into this? This doesn't seem right.
No, I'm too busy eating crickets. I can't. I got to impress the CEO of HBO, so he doesn't cut me.
Oh my God. Who do you think the CEO of Nielsen is? David Kenny.
Just some guy named David Kenny.
Yep.
2 names. 2 first names.
2 first names. Oh, he was CEO of the Weather Company. And so this is David Kenny. He replaced Mike Kelly at the Weather Company.
Of course he did.
And that's who gets to be CEOs in America, baby.
And that's who promotes the people who if you are not a guy who has 2 first names, you should not be in corporate America.
A white man of slim build who wears glasses and probably goes to church.
Yeah. All right, let's get one more question, Amanda.
Okay, well, I have to go for this one. I was thinking about saving it for the replay, but we really segued into it with Winning Time.
Sure.
This is from Ask a Manager in 2013, so even earlier. We're in the second term Obama. We don't know what's coming. Okay, the question is, should I pay for lunch with my famous boss?
No. No!
So, the answer is straightforward, Eric, but I think the fun part here for you is speculation about who this boss is.
Please.
So, my new boss is a famous sports figure, and then in parentheses, Olympics, NBA, etc.
Oh, they're really trying to disguise. Sure, yeah.
I feel as if people are always expecting him to
Wait,
do
hold
things.
on. Olympics, NBA, etc. is so funny because either it's Olympics or it's intentionally like a baseball person.
I thought this was both the Olympics and the NBA.
No, I think they're trying to throw you off the
About like the size. This is actually like a figure skater or somebody.
It could be anyone, but I see now I'm like really close reading this. I'm like either they don't know much about sports, so this person is an Olympian, but then threw in another thing to like illustrate it could be anything.
Right, it's like Serena Williams, but
or like an Olympian who everyone knows, like Apollo Anton Ono.
Sure.
Though that might be the only one who knows that. Or like Katie DeBecky.
Yeah. He trained in Lake Placid.
Well, you were in Lake Placid. That doesn't count for a speed skater.
It doesn't.
But like Katie DeBecky or whatever.
Sean
Or Simone Biles. Yes, Sean White. So it doesn't necessarily have to be an NBA, like a professional American famous person. They're a famous sportsman in the general sense. But no, I think it's funny. Either they're trying to throw us off the trail and they're like an NFL player,
right.
or they're explicitly an Olympian, which I find very funny.
If they say that they don't eat nightshades, we do know who it is.
It's Thomas Gentleman Brady.
Okay.
Famous single person, Thomas Brady.
Oh, boy. I feel as if people are always expecting him to do things for them. Sign an autograph, pay for things, etc. I feel bad. He invited me out for our first lunch together next month. So we have to schedule weeks in advance because of his schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to pay. I think it's the humanitarian thing to do, but I don't know if this is bad etiquette or if he'd be offended.
Jesus. Some people just have worms in their brain.
Yeah.
From living in the Midwest for so long and they get told, or like just you're the waspiest person in the world. I'm sorry. No. Your boss should pay for it. If you want to offer, you can. But there's going to be a point where your boss says, no, I got it, and you can't push him out of the way.
Yes. 100%.
That's
Allison
what it comes down
Green
to.
agrees and says, absolutely not. Kind of you, but managers pay when they take employees to lunch,
right,
period.
That's what it is.
Yeah. And everybody in the comments backs it up. And it's like, listen, if you really feel like it, you can be like, oh, may I? But, he's probably going to insist no. And also, in just the social etiquette, he invited you.
Yes.
And that is an old-timey thing of if I invite you out to lunch and we're not splitting, the person doing the inviting needs to pay.
Right. You actually might know this. This took me a little while to figure out, just in general, but it's like, are there rules? Did someone teach you how to not be an asshole when someone else is paying? Like
Yes.
for court, because you've been to a lot of dinners paid for by banks.
I have. And I remember specifically when I went out to like movies or lunch with my friends' parents, my dad would give me like a decoy 20 and be like, don't spend this, but offer to spend it. To be like,
That's the funniest.
yeah, to be like, okay, I know like Kim's mom is taking you guys out to pizza or like to the bowling alley or like to someone's birthday party. You know, if you get ice cream after the movie, you know, assume you're going to pay for yourself. And even if they take the check off the table, be like, no, 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 and then don't do it. And I felt so much social pressure as a child as to like, how vociferous is do I insist? Do I grab it back? Do I sneak a credit card under? Because like, I saw that shit on like commercials, you know, and like, I did have one uncle who would like always, try to kind of outdo my grandpa and like pay for the check before my grandpa could.
Sure.
So yes, I got explicit instruction, but in the business sense, it's, you know, if you take out the client and you pay for you pay for the dinner. And that was like explicitly discussed because you had things like expense limits. And, you know, one time I put down my boss's credit card for like a holiday drinks for the department. And I had to be like, okay, everybody, like this is the tab, like go up to this amount, or we're paying for this long. And then I signed for it at the end of the night. So the logistics of it, because I was on the logistics side, was always very clear to me.
I was also thinking about like not ordering more expensively than the person who's paying is
totally.
really tough one that I had to figure out. Like, obviously I knew it in my soul, but like, I didn't realize how codified, like unwritten rule codified it was, and like how important it was not to do that.
Yeah.
Because again, one of the many things in business, if you make one wrong move, and this one's a pretty egregious one,
right?
If you make one wrong move, then you get fucked, and like some bad professional thing will happen because you offended someone in some way.
I mean, yeah, many times, you know, I would not be sure if I was supposed to pay or not, and then order, you know, the cheapest thing because I was assuming I was paying, and at the end of the night they pay, and then I'm like, shit. So only now at 30 am I like, my dad's girlfriend probably is going to order wine and she'll probably share it with me and she'll pay for it. And so like now that's when I'm getting a little bit daring with my ordering. But no, cheapest thing or second cheapest thing always. Never get an appetizer or dessert unless everybody else is. That's kind of my
Don't
go-to.
even do it because then they'll probably order for the table.
Yes.
Those are some good rules, right? Is like, watch what the person who you think is paying is getting.
Yes.
Don't get something more expensive than what they're getting. And don't order after dessert because they'll probably order for the table.
Yes.
Or wine for that matter.
Absolutely. Yeah. If somebody orders, you know, wine and then they're like, everybody good with this? Probably they're the one who's going to pay for it. They're not going to be like if we went out with our friends, we'd be like, oh, you guys want to like split a pitcher of beer or something? Like we discuss it first. But if they order, they're probably going to share and they're probably going to pay for it.
Right. Or like if they order a beer, you can get a beer, but don't get like a cocktail.
Yes. Yeah, I have definitely done that before.
You gotta go up to what they're doing.
Yes. And many times because like waiters will start with sort of the youngest woman at the table to order.
Oh, tough.
I will often be in a position to be like, come back to me.
Because
I have to send it around the horn before it comes back.
I haven't read it yet. Can you wait? Can you?
I'm torn. I'm torn. What do you get? What's your favorite? Tell me. What do you get? Let's be bad. Let's get an appetizer. Let's be bad.
No, don't do that. Don't do that at your business dinner that someone else is paying for.
No, you do that with your dad's girlfriend.
Oh, yes. Listen, this happened to us at Christmas.
This is fucking great.
This just happened to us.
Noreen, shout out.
I really was like, they all went. So on Christmas Eve, we went out with your dad and your dad's girlfriend because I'm like, hey, we're Jews. Enjoy Jewish Christmas with us where we go and do something. We went to a restaurant. It was basically like a steak place.
Hard to get into normally, but it was empty.
And there were a bunch of different choices of steak. Really good steak to fine steak, and the price was accordingly. I was fully prepared to get middling or less steak because I was prepared to pay for myself and to pay for both of us.
And before we went out, we were like, you know,
we discussed it. You and I discussed this.
We made a game plan. We're like, they may offer to pay because it's like my dad and his girlfriend, who is a single woman of means, and will probably, you know, wants to like treat us to something. We just got married. Like, I thought it was likely that they would offer to pay, but I was like, let's not assume that, just in case. Like, let's prepare. We're doing, you know, a fancy dinner out, and like we will plan on owning the choices we make and
Right.
not being surprised if we end up splitting the bill at the end of the night.
The funny thing was that, like, we got to the steak part, and Amanda, being Amanda, was like, hey, which of these doesn't have garlic on it? I'm like, oh, only the most expensive one?
The $70 price fix prime rib, like bone-in steak. And I was like, well,
I guess I need to get that
okay,
one. And then
all
I'm
right.
like, I'll wait. And then your dad and his girlfriend were both like, oh, yeah, we're going to get that too. And I'm like, okay. Well, I guess. But then I knew it was on. I knew that they were paying for it. But no, I was fully prepared. It was very nice, but I was fully prepared to pay.
No, it was lovely. They treated us. That was their present to us, which was totally cool. And then we went to a bar afterward where my dad said, bourbon on him, and then pointed at Eric.
I know. The thing is that your dad wasn't super, like got in my face about it. He's like, you're paying for the bar tab later. I'm like, okay. I was prepared.
We're like, all right. Like, we
it's like, you ordered dessert. You ordered wine for everyone. I didn't do that. But no, it was funny.
Good times.
Oh my God. All right, well, good. I'm glad that people are enjoying this first official main feed replay. Remember, check out the Patreon, patreon.com/gamesandfeelings for more replays that Amanda and I have just been doing since June. There are like 18, 20 episodes of them in there.
And Eric, hey, if I can tell you, I got an update to a letter that we covered months ago coming up for you in the next replay.
Oh, wonderful. You can see what Amanda and I were like when we were planning our wedding.
Oh my God.
And how stressed we
made
were
a bunch
about
of
it.
predictions about it, some of which came true.
That's true. Some of them did come true. Amanda, my wife, where can people find you on the internet?
Well, first, thank you for allowing me onto the show and making me a part of the monthly rotation. I very much appreciate it. And hanging out with you and answering people's questions and being smugly married on me. Very helpful.
Smugly married on me, and it's very funny.
But you can find me at She's So Mickey on social media.
So Mickey.
I also just refreshed my website a little bit, McLoughlin.com. And
whoa, hello.
yeah. And I am also on Join the Party with Eric here. We're starting a new campaign. I think probably this week or next week when this episode's coming out. And also on Spirits, where every week we touch on a different aspect of mythology or folklore from somewhere around the world.
It's a boozy dive into myths, legends, and folklore?
Peter Parker, dollar slice. See, join the Patreon to understand that joke.
Yeah, you gotta understand it.
You gotta.
You can find me on the internet, on social media, as whatever exists at L_Silvero, EL_SALVERO. My name, if I was a Lucha Libre wrestler. You can find Games in Feelings on Twitter at Games in Feelings with an N, like linens and things. Check out the Patreon. If you want to submit a question that we do during our advice segments with permanent guest Jasper Cartwright, go to gamesandfeelings.com/questions, and all the links are in the episode description, as they always are. Thank you, Amanda, for your wonderful advice questions.
You're welcome.
And remember, advice columnists don't know anything about games. Games and Feelings is produced by Eric Silver and edited and mixed by Mischa Stanton. The theme music is Return to French Toast Castle by Jeff Bryce, and the art was created by Jessica Boyd. Find transcripts for this episode and all episodes at our website, gamesandfeelings.com. Until next time, press X to enjoy the podcast.